we're off to the next speaker. So let's bring Tasia up and unmute her before Donna gets started. And here we go. So yay, and it's just Tasia, which is fine.
Hello.
Or it could be me and Tasia and Yasmilde. So Tasia, I think like we've asked everyone else, what was your reason for getting involved with us with this event from emotionally confused to joyful? Tell us. Tell them.
They were saying
no, not yet. Just this is Tasia. She's going to tell us that first. No, tell you.
Well, I think it's almost everything. There's so many points that you both are hitting with this. One is that, as most of the speakers, when they work from the heart, they work from the mindset. I work from, if you have all of these things going, and if you're not changing your space, how do you stabilize both? But they both have to be in harmony for it to work in tandem, because it all starts from your safe space and your safe haven. And both of you are working towards children. And I work a lot of families with children as well, especially those with special needs, with the neurodivergent, those on the autism spectrum, those with ADD, ADHD. A lot of people right now are not exactly coping very well with being at home with COVID. And so all of these touch me. It's like, as long as everybody, whether there's an actual child, the inner child, a lot of people forget as adults that they need care and self-care as well. And if it starts in the space, let's get your space to a place of wellness to encourage you to go beyond, not only from your heart and your mind, but your soul, as well as on a physical level. So it's extremely important.
And that, my friends, was Tasia Keeng. And Tasia, just so that we are now aware, that's her. And what she does, she's an environmental psychologist, but she's a Feng Shui practitioner. She's an interior designer. And like she shared, she does award-winning. And she works with, just a full spectrum of clients and does such beautiful work. So you're going to share with us about the 3 secrets, the hidden secrets to wellness in your home. It's what she does. We're super excited to have you here and to share this. So yes, the stage is yours. She jumped right in. We gave her co-host earlier and she took it, because that's, my friends, is how it works. So we'll unmute us so that you've got the floor of the stage, and
go right ahead.
Thank you, my dears. Okay, so today we're going to just kind of touch on this a little bit. And I really want to share it's actually hidden because a lot of people don't really talk about it and they don't really realize it. So these are 3 challenges that I'm presenting to people about, say, for example, you're working at home. Why aren't you as motivated as you want? I mean, with COVID, everybody's at home, but, you can get easily distracted. But what happens if you don't have these distractions? What happens if you're not sleeping well at night? And what happens if your child or a family member is way too hyperactive? So a lot of you ask why I've got these lovely colors on here. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because we're touching on one of the biggest points, which is your wellness starts from your home. Now, I put a little baby there because when a baby sleeps, they sleep really soundly. When a baby's awake and, like creating chaos, then your whole world gets chaos, right? So wellness really starts from your home. And your home, if you really think about it, needs to be your safe haven. So when I talked about all of these points, if any of these things are not working well, then that means your home is not your safe haven. And not speaking from the spiritual level, but speaking from your soul, which is your heart space, is your space really speaking to you as a person, and is your soul space? Because again, if you're seeking challenges within your home, then it's going to be a very difficult space for you because you're not speaking to your wellness. Now, here we talk about, intentionally changing the space in our lives based on our heart and our mind. But you can also fill your home space with what you intentionally want to fill it with, to create that entire space for yourself. So what is love light? Love light is really about bringing love and light to your home, because all of you, if you talk about your safe haven, your soul space, you're talking about bringing joy. You're talking about bringing peace. You're talking about bringing harmony. And there's some very simple elements that speak to the energy within your space that bring love and light to your home. So love light is really all about seeking that for you. Where do you find the wellness for yourself from starting from your home space? Now, I want to first talk about health versus wellness, because a lot of people don't really understand what that is. And my Google is talking to me, guys. Isn't that so much fun? All right. So when we talk about health, I'm taking it from the World Health Organization. It's really about your physical, mental, social well-being, the absence of disease and infirmity. But when we talk about wellness, and just forget the Pfizer, I'm just showing you that it came from Pfizer, but it really spoke to what it comes from, that we practice healthy habits so that all of these states of health that we have, we're not just surviving in our homes, we're actually thriving in our homes. That's the perfect word, right? To thrive in your space. So what are the 8 points of wellness within your home? They are, of course, the physical, the mental and emotional, but we also have the intellectual. We have the environmental. A lot of you talk about not having chemicals in your environment. We talk about environmental wellness. How about financial? We often forget about the financial part of it. Your occupational, which is the access to your home. We think about accesses and special needs, but each and every one of us deserves access to our home space. How about the social aspect of it, the harmony with your family, and of course your spiritual, and I'm not talking about religious, but your soul. Remember, we talked about your soul space. So that being said, for me, what I've created for Love Light Home Design and as a home wellness designer, I have 2 systems. One is called the Holistic Harmony Impact System, where I measure, because we're talking about wellness, the quality of life in your space. But how do I turn that around? I use what I've created called the Home Harmony Healing Advantage, where there are 4 different components: the intuitive compositions, the affinity accords, the helpful harmonizations, and the prosperity cultivators that all work in tandem to turn your space to what I call the nirvana state, which is the state of absolute and complete wellness, where you have joy, you have peace, you have your soul space, you have abundance. All the wellness components then go into nirvana. So today we're going to talk, remember I said about the very simple system that you can talk about energy, changing the energy in your space around. We're going to talk about the science of color. It is one of the most important things, and all the 3 hidden secrets all speak towards the science of color. Because when we talk about environmental psychology and we talk about the wellness in your space, we are actually talking not just about the frequencies that go on with how you're feeling within your space, firstly, but we're also going to talk about how does your brain perceive things in your space, because your brain then connects to your physical aspect of you, and it's going to change around how you actually perceive your space, that talks to your emotions and talks to your mindset and talks to everything else that's going on in your space. Okay, all right, so the affinity accords. Now, I am a Feng Shui expert, and when I talk to people about Feng Shui, a lot of them think it's organization, and I tell them it's actually quantum physics. It is how energy structures and molecular structures are either in harmony or discord within your space. And I'm not going to really go into Feng Shui here. We can do that in a different session, but I'm going to talk to your personal Feng Shui elements. We find your Feng Shui element from your date of birth. And where it goes is not according to the Chinese calendar, it's according to the Feng Shui calendar, which is based on a mathematical binary system, just like when you program your CDs or you program your computer, there's a mathematical system. From there, we take your Feng Shui elements, because then it will define how your elemental energy is going to be incorporated in the space. So the one thing that I said, I didn't talk about, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit here, is how I always felt a little bit overwhelmed in my space. I have a lot of challenges. I used to get sick a lot. And I felt, sometimes very frustrated with my space. Now, there are a lot of different things that come along with it. Obviously, people have different design styles in your space. Some people like different color systems. But the one very big thing that changed my life around was realizing what my Feng Shui element was, and my Feng Shui element is wood, and how it actually impacts how I sit in my space and the colors that I require around me. Now, there's a little bit of a complex system in it, which talks about how something supports your energy and how something drains your energy. But when you don't know your Feng Shui element, you may be taking the wrong color systems and putting it in your space, and it actually drains your energy, surprisingly enough. So for example, I'm wood. Wood is obviously the element of wood. You have wood around you, but wood is also the color green. And I never realized why it was that I love garden systems, why I loved artwork with, like trees on it, why I, tended to like the color blue, because when you need to water a plant for it to grow, the color blue is a huge system. And I've always had tendencies towards it. Now, whatever your element is, it actually supports your system. And if you have the wrong element, it's going to take away from it. So for example, with me, as I said, water actually stokes my system, and I look really good using wood, like water on me, like blues and blacks on me. I look great with green on me, but I don't look good with sandy colors, or I wear a lot of white because it's love light. But certain things I know drain my energy, and that's extremely important. And I still don't know why my phone is going off. All right, so when you find your Feng Shui element, it is important for you to wear the color. So I give you a classic example of this. I had a lady who came to me and she was asking whether or not she should wear whites. And she had another photograph of her in a bright pink color. And I knew that her earth, she was of the earth element, and fire burns everything down to ash to go back to earth. It actually boosts the energy there. When she was wearing white, which is a metal color, she looked kind of like, I wouldn't say she looked dull, but she didn't really wear makeup. She was all natural and she looked healthy. But when she wore magenta, the magenta shirt, which is the fire color, remember I said fire brings it to earth? She looked like she was blossoming, like she had lipstick on and blush, and it was just crazy. So when we talk about your Feng Shui element, this is what I'm talking about. Now, I'm talking about color in deco and design here. Obviously, you can wear it. But when you put it in your room, it actually boosts your energy towards and stokes your energy in ways that you never thought you could get. I give you the classic example of this young man who is of the water element. And he painted his entire walls in his bedroom blue. And he also had lots of blue artwork on the wall. And his sister was of the metal element, and fire melts metal. And she had a lot of like bright pinks and purples in her room. And she didn't understand why she wasn't sleeping well. And there are specific systems that you have to have in your room, because there's certain colors that you should not have in your room anyway, because they activate your brain. But when you're talking about your Feng Shui element, you need to feed the energy towards you so that you're sleeping. And by just changing your artwork towards the colors and the elemental colors that support you, they make a massive difference. So I know I spent a lot of time on your Feng Shui element, but that's a huge part of how you shift your life in different parts of your room. All right, let's go to a classic example of how you should and should not use a Feng Shui element. So the picture on the left, they're both fire elements, but this room had a lot of stuff going on. It had a lot of wood in it, it had a lot of metal going on, and it obviously had a lot of fire, because fire elements would be red. Think of the color of the flame, orange, magenta. And they didn't understand why they couldn't really sleep in the room, and why there was disharmony in the room. And I told them it's just too much fire, because they have, when you're talking about using elements, you're not every single person in the house is going to have the same element. So if you have somebody who is of a different element and you put it very distinctly in a room like this, without the measurement below of what the room requires, because the room will always come first, you're actually going to cause disharmony in a place. So there's specific family members in this particular room who were always tired, they felt sleepy, whereas some family members felt better. There was a lot of, there's a lot of heat and energy, what we call yang energy within the room, and there's sometimes arguments, which isn't good. The other one on the right is where I've kept the room very peaceful and calm, but we've implemented color through fire colors and obviously through the light fixture in a very different way, which actually keeps the energy of the room very balanced. So when we're looking at elements, we're looking at your personal element, you need to make sure that you balance it. And there is a way, obviously, to do that with the Feng Shui master. All right. Now, let's talk about the next part of the other hidden secret. A lot of people don't realize that when you design color in your space, you actually need to design your space to your personality type. So what I do with my clients is I use the Myers-Briggs tool. Now, why do I say this? remember I talked about how your brain takes on information. So say, for example, I know I'm very extroverted. So an extroverted person likes color, they like big space. Whereas an introverted person likes, to feel more cozy. They want to feel more, like they're cuddled, but they may not like a lot of color. So by understanding your personality type, it actually allows me, when I'm designing for your space, to pick up how is your brain, remember we talked about environmental psychology, how is your brain going to pick up through how it's perceiving the different color spectrums, whether it's a primary color or a more saturated color as well, how your brain is going to perceive that, because that's going to affect whether you're more motivated, whether you're more sleepy, whether you get more anxiety in a space. There are a lot of things that happen because your brain is taking on this information. So where we start is the Myers-Briggs system, because it will tell me whether you're a creator, whether you're an advocate, whether you're a supporter. What are you will then define the colors. So remember I talked about the Myers-Briggs. Sometimes I look at whether you're extroverted, whether you're intuitive, feeling and perceiving. And this is a classic example of, how do you feel your space? Whether you have a big open space, you have lots of colors on the wall, how do the colors make you feel within the space? Yellow, and this is a very pale yellow, is a color that allows positivity. And you think about this in the morning, when you're waking up, you want sunlight coming at you, right? So I have a happy lamp beside me because I want the color yellow to be creating serotonins, which create positive mood levels within you. And you can carry on that throughout your day. So if you are of a lot of these like strong extroverted, intuitive feeling and perceiving people, sometimes like brighter colors. Now, not all of them, because we have to look at the entire, what your personality type is, but these speak to that. When you're introverted, sensing and thinking and judging, you tend to have either darker colors or you like more minimalistic space. And white, ladies and gentlemen, is a color. I know that I have a lot of clients who go, I don't want white, but there's so many different kinds of white. There's like gray undertones within it. They're different. There's a taupey color. They're more beiges. They're more like reds. They're warm and cool whites. How you feel your space is going to define who you are and what you are, right? So I also want to talk about, since we're on personality types, I also want to talk about the neurodivergent. I am an intervener, which means that I have been trained to interpret the world for people who are deaf and blind. And because they have a dual sensory loss, they have to perceive the world in a different way. The one big thing that environmental psychology tells us is that for the neurodivergent, they just look at the world in a very different way. The brain perceives the world in a very different way. So anybody who is on the autism spectrum, they use a lot of sensory input in different ways. They feel the space in a different way. They need to feel like they are in synergy with the space, whether it's through vision, whether it's through hearing, especially through touch. So anybody who is on the autism spectrum, you will find they don't like very stark contrast in colors. They like something, depending on what they're doing in the space, they tend to like more like soothing colors. Whereas when you're ADHD or ADD, you get very easily distracted. So we don't use very stark colors. We use more saturated colors because it actually calms the brain a little bit. There are different color spectrums depending where you are. And remember, all color through science has frequency. So how is your brain taking on the information? I actually tailor it to the individual because across the board, everybody is different, just like you and I, we all have different design styles. Each of us looks at color in a very different way. So when I'm working with anybody who requires access, whether you're neurodivergent or whether you just want to understand why your brain picks up something, I really take a look at what the color is doing and your brain is perceiving it. Now, we're going to be talking about environment. So remember we talked about design styles in specific places, and obviously, we have different rooms in our house. We have our bedrooms, we have our family rooms. I'm just going to touch on the office here because there may be entrepreneurs here on the call. But of course, when we're looking at any other rooms, it's the same thing. I'm going to look at different color scopes and color spectrums. The way that I do it is most of the time through artwork and little pieces of decor in your space. So here we're talking I'm showing you a picture of a design that I did for a lovely lady who is very extroverted. And this was a space where she's very glamorous. She likes all the sparkle, but she also wanted to make sure that when she was on a call, the people that was seeing her on the call understood what the kind of emotion that she was trying to stoke in it. And I'm going to speak a little bit later to what do people see when you're on a call with them. These words that she said were that now in her room, she felt more focused, inspired, and motivated. Why? Because when she's on a Zoom call, just like when I'm on a Zoom call, if you see behind me, and you can see later if you can't see it now, I have different things that speak to me that like stoke my emotions and make sure that I am feeling more motivated, more hyped, more awake and not fatigued in the room. And whenever she's on a call, she sees this painting behind her and that she sparks her mood. And some of these paintings actually have names to it. And if I remember correctly, this particular painting, I think the name is Springtime. So it evokes the feeling of spring in her, which is about growth and awakening. See how much color can actually shift your space. This is another lovely client of mine who is very extroverted, but she's like me, we squirrel. And because we squirrel, you know, her space looks like it. And you don't want to see my space because I squirrel, and my space really at certain times of the year looks exactly like the painting on the left. And she wanted a calmer space so that she could be more focused and more productive in her space. She's a real estate agent after all, and she has documentation everywhere. And what we did, even though she's a very extroverted person, what was more important to her was that she was calmer because she felt so overwhelmed with the work that she did. So we trained it towards the white spectrum. But if you look at the rug that I look for her, I incorporated the colors of blue and yellow to create the positivity. Because the room is pretty dark and a little bit difficult in terms of design, we wanted to make sure that these color spectrums spoke to calming her brain down so that she could be calmer with her clients. And if you really think about it, when you're selling your house, it's one of the most stressful times of the year. So again, happier and more productive. Those are her words. And remember just now I said, what do you and your clients see? So a lot of you who are on Zoom calls, you know, especially now in the times of COVID when we're working remotely from home, I see this a lot. I see windows behind us and I see walls, blank walls. And if you really think about it, you are trying to create a professional image, right? And if you're trying to create a professional image, there needs to be something that feels professional, not only to you because you're seeing yourself, but to your clients because you want to project the image. And the first 3 to 5 seconds are extremely important, as in how people see you and how it's carried on. And I always say this, make sure that you have some color behind you that goes with your style. So I'm going to give you an example of this lovely lady here. She's in a temporary space because she's waiting to have a little bit more, you know, the prices of homes right now are a little bit unmanageable for some. So she's in a space that she's created for herself until she can get her actual home. And this is what we did with her space. Now, she is a person who told me she didn't realize, because she coaches people, how much the impact of a blank wall and just dark furniture made her feel like she was fatigued. And all we did was create very simple systems on a very strict budget. Like she had very minimal budget because she's trying to save for a new home. But you look at what looks like in her space right now. And gold and creams, she is actually a person who's earth colors. Remember, we talked about the elements, sandy colors, the color of metals and golds, that's metal, but earth tones are great for earth elemental people. And so we created, along with the elements, things towards that. She loves pale colors. So we actually shifted everything so that it's more positive. And she said she feels a massive difference in how inspired and confident not only she is, but in what her clientele, the people that she coaches, are like. So I just want to talk to you very quickly because I know I need to go very soon. I am going now, there's a lot of information here and there's no way I can stay all in 20 minutes. So what I'm offering in the package to you is a masterclass where I really teach you in 90 minutes and I we talk about the questions where we're going on, how to actually look for your personal Feng Shui element, what are the colors, and how do you actually create a completely different energy perspective in your home from it. It delves deeper within it. We also talk about how do you look at your personal design style, the colors that are complementary to it, so that you speak to the wellness, positivity, and motivation within your home, because we're going to look at specific rooms in your house. And I also want to make sure that if you need a safe space, a place of self-care, that you need to know how you can shift your brain using environmental psychology so that you either relax or calm down, or if it's in your office space, you're more motivated and peaked, so that we transform your entire space, every space in your house, so that it speaks to your soul. So very quickly before I go, a quote from Zig Ziglar: it's not what you've got, it's what you use that makes a difference. So if you already have things in your house, how do we move it and shift it within the space so it makes a massive difference to you? And I thank you for your time and attention. I'm Tasia from Love Light Home Design, your home wellness designer, and you can always figure out where to get me on my website. That's all I have to say. Yay. I'm done, ladies. Right on time.
Just waiting to, there you go.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was awesome. I love it. I've met Tasia, well, I don't know, early last year or late last year, I guess early this year, we've done some work together. I love it. I always love what you say about the color and just the expression, and how moving things around in our house have such an impact in just a little way, right?
Often.
I do it often. I do it because I love to just see, and I try things. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try this, because it is something that lights me up to move that around. I do. We were laughing as we're listening, because as you see in Yasmilde's space, and often when we're working with our clients, you see such background. Me, I'm like in the screen. I'm there because I'm big. I'm energy. I love to see me too, right? So I'll work on it. It's all good. No one else has ever said anything, but it's funny what does come up and what triggers, and certainly emotionally, I love seeing myself. So there you go.
And actually, that's what I want our audience to tell us. Like, what is it that you think? Is there one thing that you think you're going to be changing after you listen to Tasia? What came through for you the loudest? And we already know, like, Maria is changing
that, yeah, she's changing it too, right? We're whether you're an entrepreneur, we're all working from home these days, or most of us, right? And
but never mind working though. Like, there is something that Tasia said about this environmental psychology.
Yes,
there is energy in the places that you have. There is energy in the places that you live, and knowing how to tap into using that to your benefit is absolutely precious, which is why I think the Tasia's product in the bundle is unbelievably valuable, because not many people know how to do this, and to have a way that you can be guided through your process in your own space, it's priceless at this time. Well, then COVID, that we spent what, 90% of our time inside of our spaces. So this is absolutely important for our emotional resilience and well-being. How is it? And actually, I am. And please keep your messages coming.
Yeah, message here or message in the replay if you're watching. It's color, everything it is. It's all, well, we know it's all energy, but how do we sit in that? And I laugh as we're saying, I move things around. I move because I move not just seasonally, but I work with the moon a lot. Let's be serious. So I play a lot with, I can move that and tweak this and whatever. So it's whatever lights us up and helps us to feel better, feel different, raise vibrations, whatever those words are for you. But I love it. I love every time that you share with us what you're up to and how you do help clients, help individuals, regardless of the space, regardless of the budget, regardless of where you
Personality.
are, your personality, and the work that you do with families that as an intervener. I mean, it's quite fabulous. So thank you always for being a part of things like this.
You're welcome,
And
lady.
just for getting to know you, because I think it's wonderful. So
Exactly.
is there anything else about that, or is there?
Not like talking about one of the things that you talked about that touch me. What is the part on how we can help our children in our household when they have these problems of anxiety and ADHD, which is all of that is going high to the roof lately, and how much easier or how much more, there's a word in English that is escaping me, but how, yes, maybe it's not easier, but it's definitely beneficial without secondary effects, let's put it this way, to address those kind of things with changing things around and bringing things, decorative elements or colors in many ways into a room, rather than having to go into medication or.
Well, I give you a classic example, Yasmilde. I was speaking to somebody that I met from one of your previous events, and she, some of her family members, if I remember, is either ADD or ADHD, and there were just things everywhere and a gamut of colors because you have a tendency towards that. And she was the one who had anxiety because she didn't know what to do with herself because her personality type was more minimalistic. So sometimes it's about just finding ways to decrease the anxiety levels, the stress levels, the very simple systems that you can put in place that don't really cost any money. Sometimes it's just shifting something around in the home so that when you're looking at it, you perceive it. And one of the biggest things that I try and do is I try and work with what's in the home first. And then we go explore outside of the home if we need to, based on the budgets, right? So it is important. A lot of people, a lot of mothers have told me how they're not coping and how the stress levels are through the roof. So every little bit helps, especially in the home right now, I would say.
Exactly. Every little bit helps. And so
with that,
I hope, yes, that you guys feel motivated to get this bundle. For you and for the children of the future. But yes, these are amazing resources that you can tap into right away. So thank you so very much, Tasia, for saying yes and showing up, and the generosity of the gift, that the donation that you put into the bundle.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
love it.